Since the late 80s, early 2000s, Arnold was one of the biggest Hollywood stars. Maybe even the biggest. After all, he was the one who several times broke fee records, first receiving $20 million for participation, then $25, and finally $30. There were actors who sometimes earned more than Arnold due to percentages, but in terms of a one-time fee, for more than 10 years, he set the bar that all other actors immediately began to strive for. At that time, he and the studio cow were mercilessly criticized, as it was believed they had broken the unwritten Hollywood rule not to pay actors more than $15 million. Now, after the fees of Johnny Depp and Robert Downey, who received $50 million each, Arnold's numbers no longer look so crazy. But it was Arnie who paved the way for these gentlemen. And although with such money Arnold supposedly should live large, it is claimed that he does not. According to various tales, Arnie even went to a neighboring state for his first Jeep, since there it could be bought cheaper even despite the travel costs. And how could we go without stories about how he returned his wife's expensive clothes to the store, since in his opinion she didn't need them. But this is not about some stinginess. Arnie repeatedly bought clothes and necessary things for the entire film crew when the studio's budget didn't cover it. The actor often said that one should not overpay for air and spend money on expensive, meaningless nonsense that is not necessary. In general, today we would like to recall the career of Mr. Olympia, the Austrian thick-headed governor of California, Hollywood superstar Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold came to big cinema already a millionaire. He arrived in the States with a small amount of money sometimes. In the harshest stories, this amount equaled a couple of dollars. But within 10 years, Arnold increased it to a couple of million. He made his main money not by pumping iron, but by trading real estate. All the money Arnie earned went into buying land or houses. When the land became more expensive, Arnie sold and earned much more. In his free time from his main activity, he tried to get into Hollywood, and if his first film Hercules in New York can hardly be called a success, then the 1976 comedy Stay Hungry fits that definition. The actor received a Golden Globe, the only award of this kind in his career. This award allowed him, a couple of years later, to receive $200,000 for filming in the movie Cactus Jack. A distributor for the film was not found, so Conquering Hollywood had to be postponed for another 3 years. During this time, he just earned his first million, successfully selling one of his land plots. The Hollywood breakthrough happened in 1982 with the film Conan the Barbarian. For his role in this film, he received $250,000, a quite impressive amount for those times. But due to the problematic production of the film, Arnold was busy with it for 3 whole years. It turned out solidly, but with a feeling that you were somewhat cheated. Great difficulties arose with the script and the budget of the film. The initial script didn't please anyone, and a new one was supposed to be written by Oliver Stone, the future director of Platoon and Wall Street. In those years, he most liked to lie somewhere in the bushes in a state of extreme highness. So he wrote the script for a long time, getting high on everything he could. Therefore, although director John Milius noted the curious quality of the nonsense in the script, it still had to be finalized, since quite normal people also go to the cinema. By the way, in theory, the film's director could even have been Ridley Scott. After the success of Alien, he was offered the director's chair, but he refused, preferring Blade Runner. It is said that he was sent not the final script, but rather a collection of Oliver Stone's trips, so his refusal surprised no one. The budget of the film was even more complicated. At the earliest stages, the authors wanted only $5 million. When the project began to develop, Dino De Laurentiis joined it, and according to Stone's script, the estimated budget shot up beyond $40 million. In the film, every minute someone would cut a dragon, destroy a castle, or blow up a bridge in full scale. No one in Hollywood wanted to sign up for such a scale. As a result, castles, mass battles, and butchery were removed from the script. The budget was reduced to $15 million. Universal Studio was ready to sign on for this amount. It covered part of the budget and took on marketing. Under the agreement, it was not to be less than $10 million. The film was shot for 7 months, completely ignoring safety regulations. Every week, someone was taken to the hospital with a broken head. Arnold was taken there too, since he believed that animals feel good people, and therefore he was not in danger. However, folk wisdom did not work. One day the wolf bit Arnie, and the actor had to get stitches and shots. months. It is unknown what the test screenings of the film were like, but the premiere of Conan was postponed a couple of times. Almost nothing was cut, only a few minutes were removed, and the film still lasted more than 2 hours. The film was released in the United States in May 1982. Universal Studio did an excellent job with promotion. There were queues at the cinemas. Conan pushed the comedy Porky's from first place, which had held the box office leadership for 8 weeks. The film's start was impressive. In the first week, it collected almost $10 million. After a couple of weeks, it was displaced by Rocky III and then by E.T., which became the highest grossing film of 1982. In total, Conan collected $40 million in the US and another $29 worldwide. Despite the impressive budget and marketing, the film made a profit even before its video release. So a sequel was inevitable, though with a nuance. While preparations for the new film were underway, Arnie had already begun looking for another role, one that would allow him to truly reveal his acting potential. Such a film became The Terminator, which for a long time stalled because of difficulties with the budget. It was impossible to find money for the film because the director was listed as the creator of the second Piranha, and Arnold also was not eager to work under the direction of James Cameron until he spoke with him personally and recognized him as a great talent. After that, he agreed to act, setting a condition: the director must definitely remain that same guy who showed him cool pictures. However, because Arnie had obligations for the second Conan, the shooting of The Terminator had to be postponed for several months. Initially, the new Conan was supposed to be directed by Roger Donaldson, but producer Dino De Laurentiis decided that his style would suit the film The Bounty better, and without asking his opinion, quickly transferred him there. After that, the director of the first film, John Milius, who could not return to the project due to being busy with Red Dawn, suggested to De Laurentiis the candidacy of Richard Fleischer. Back in 1958, he had directed one of Dino's favorite films, The Vikings, with Kirk Douglas. Fleischer introduced one important innovation into the second part. He liked the first Conan film, shot by John Milius, but, in his words, there was one omission: Arnold was almost always dressed. In the sequel, he fixed this mistake. The budget was allocated approximately in the same range as the first part, but Conan the Destroyer was shot in only 4 months, so in theory the film should have looked even more expensive. The filming cost $18 million. However, that very small nuance consisted in the child age rating. Thanks to it, the authors wanted to collect more money at the box office, but reality turned out differently. In the American box office, The Destroyer earned only $31 million. Some money was added by the world box office, for example. In Germany and France alone, almost 3 million people watched the film. The exact numbers are unknown, but clearly not catastrophic. Nevertheless, critics and viewers trashed the movie, calling it significantly weaker than the original. Even people involved in the production of the film began to criticize it. The screenwriters Thomas and Jerry Conans, who wrote the first draft of the script, were extremely dissatisfied with the result, believing that from a brutal dark action movie turned out a children's fairy tale about pink ponies. Arnold Schwarzenegger himself also did not stand aside. He didn't like the film. Arnie constantly asked the producers to return the adult rating to the film and abandon the focus on the family audience, but the studio ignored all his indignations. It was precisely because of Arnold's dissatisfaction that the third film about Conan never happened, although its production was planned for 1987 or 1988. To Arnold's reluctance to act in a children's fantasy was added the failure of Red Sonja, which, by the way, the actor couldn't stand. As a result, the script intended for the third Conan was remade in 1997, and a film, Cole the Conqueror with Kevin Sorbo, was shot based on it. Arnold was saved by a small film on which he initially counted less than on Conan. The sci-fi action movie with all the attributes of adult cinema, The Terminator, collected $38 million in the US with a budget of only $6 million, and the world box office added another 40. This allowed the film to enter the top 10 of the year, surpassing Star Trek III: The Search for Spock. Already during the filming of The Terminator, Arnie signed up for the film Commando, and also out of friendship, almost for free, dropped by the set of Red Sonja. For Commando, the actor received $1.5 million. As with many films of the greener grass era, Commando was helped by chance and improvisation. Initially, the script was simple. The final shootout was supposed to be short. Arnold was to destroy only about 10 guards of the dictator, but changes to the script were made during filming. The creators wanted to respond to the film Rambo 2, 2. The studio, fearing Schwarzenegger's accent, because of which he was often hard to understand, suggested making his hero silent, explaining it by military trauma, but director Mark Lester objected, convincing the studio that he could handle it. Thanks to this, the film acquired many catchphrases. The script contained almost no dialogues, and Arnold often improvised and joked right on the set. During filming, Arnold even tried to jump from the plane at high altitude himself. Of course, the stuntmen didn't allow it, but from a small height, he was really dropped into the water unsuccessfully, with broken ribs. Such a craving for adventure cost dearly also to actress Alyssa Milano. In one of the scenes, Arnie stumbled and fell on her, breaking a couple of her ribs. After that, he didn't leave her side, trying to help. The film cost $10 million and collected $57 in the world box office. It was after this film that the canonical rivalry between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone began, despite the fact that in cinemas, Rambo 2 collected much more. On video, Commando was almost not inferior to it in popularity. The failed Red Sonja led to the film Raw Deal. Annoyed that he had been used in Sonja, where he was initially supposed to have only a cameo, Arnold began to threaten Dino De Laurentiis with court. As a result, their contract for several films was reduced to one, in which he acted for free, and that very film became Raw Deal. Unlike Red Sonja, Arnie had a positive attitude toward this film. He liked that he was decently dressed, and he believed he had pumped up his acting skills, trying to play different people. The film didn't flop at the box office only because its budget was just $8 million. The work on it was hasty. They shot without a full script. De Laurentiis urgently needed money, so he took an old draft for a thriller and added shooting there. The final shootout turned out to be pointless. Initially, at the end of the film, only one person went out feet first. In the American box office, the film collected $16 million. It was released almost without advertising. Dino simply had no money. He threw Raw Deal into release next to Top Gun, and Cobra, the film had no chance to survive. Maybe De Laurentiis got something, but the studio still went bankrupt. Arnold finally became free. In 1987, he made a statement with two films at once, Predator and The Running Man. And if The Running Man turned out rather a failure both in ratings and box office, then Predator again entered the top 10 of the year. 1988 year. Schwarzenegger again came out with two films this time, Red Heat and Twins. And no matter how funny it may sound now, it was Twins that added the prefix superb to Arnold's star status. Red Heat performed rather modestly at the box office, largely due to its impressive budget of $30 million. But Twins, for the first time in Arnie's career, blew up both the American and world box office. Arnold had long been looking for a comedy project that would help him expand his range of roles. Such an option was offered to him by Universal Studio, which proposed several comedy scripts in development. One of them turned out to be the script for the film Twins. In connection with this film, the movie Suburban Commando is often mentioned. Supposedly, both it and Twins were offered to Arnold and Danny DeVito, and they chose Twins. But DeVito himself said in an interview that producers approached him with a proposal to play a twin in a comedy. At first, he wasn't particularly interested, but when he found out that his brother would be an Austrian bodybuilder, he immediately agreed. By that time, Danny DeVito was already considered a major star in 1986. He performed excellently with the film Ruthless People, and in 1987 hit the jackpot with the comedy Throw Mama from the Train. Director Ivan Reitman, responsible for Ghostbusters and Police Academy, also joined the project. The expected budget of the film began to scare the studio. Only with the fees of this trio, it approached the mark of $20 million. After negotiations, everyone agreed to film for food, but in case of success, to receive percentages from profits. According to rumors, Arnold Schwarzenegger agreed on 20% of all film revenues, including video and TV sales. Later, he said that it brought him almost $40 million, becoming the biggest income for a single film in his career. Twins stayed at the top of the American box office for 4 weeks, and then another 4 weeks in second place, giving way to Rain Man. Altogether, the film, which cost $15 million, collected $216 million worldwide. A sequel to Twins had been attempted since the late 80s, but various circumstances interfered Arnold's unavailability, an unpolished script, or an inflated budget. Already in the 2000s, the project almost launched under the title Triplets, but Arnie went into politics. Now the script is again in development, and according to rumors, the third brother will be played by Eddie Murphy, although the situation with such projects can change at any moment. In 1990, Arnold hit with two major successes, Kindergarten Cop and Total Recall. In Kindergarten Cop, Arnie again worked for a percentage, thanks to which the film's budget was kept modest, only $15 million were spent. The role, which eventually went to Schwarzenegger, was initially offered to Patrick Swayze, but he chose Ghost. Even Jack Nicholson and Danny DeVito were considered, but in the end, Arnold insisted that Ivan Reitman again be the director. The film collected $201 million, becoming a big success. Schwarzenegger believed the film could have collected even more if it had received a softer rating, but Reitman insisted on his version without scenes of violence. In his opinion, the finale simply wouldn't work. The second film of 1990 was Total Recall. At the time of its release, the film became the most expensive in Hollywood history. Arnold received a record fee for himself, $10 million. Filming took place in harsh Mexican conditions, and everyone worked tirelessly. To avoid control from Arnie, director Paul Verhoeven even fainted several times and went to the hospital to rest. One day, Arnold noticed that Michael Ironside constantly talked on the phone. It turned out his sister was seriously ill. Schwarzenegger insisted on speaking with her personally, shared advice, doctor's contacts, and gave her moral support. Ironside later said he was deeply touched by such an attitude from a star. Such episodes only strengthened colleagues' respect for Arnold. He did not boast of his status, but demanded discipline and full dedication. The film Total Recall, with a budget of $65 million, collected $261 million, becoming one of the best projects of the year. Arnold's next work was Terminator 2, for which he received $15 million, catching up with Sylvester Stallone in this regard. The film became the most expensive in history at that moment, $102 million, and grossed $515 million, becoming the actor's greatest success. For 12 years, Terminator 2 remained the highest grossing film with an adult rating until the release of The Matrix Reloaded in 2003. However, great success was followed by failure Last Action Hero. At the box office, the film flopped, which was facilitated by poor marketing and competition with Jurassic Park. The failure was reinforced by the film Junior, 1994. Despite an interesting idea, the audience did not accept Schwarzenegger in such a role, and the picture failed. Ivan Reitman, however, called Junior his favorite film. The film's budget exceeded $60 million. Arnie received his standard $15 million, Danny DeVito another $5 million, and the box office totaled only $108 million. 1994 still did not pass for Arnold under the sign of Junior. Schwarzenegger insured himself with James Cameron, to whom he brought a script called Truth and Lies. However, Cameron refused to shoot a film based on that script and quickly wrote a new one, True Lies. The film again became the most expensive in Hollywood history, $115 million, although later the studio corrected the budget of Terminator 2 to $98 million and not $102 as previously believed. So True Lies officially entered the Guinness Book of Records as the first film whose budget exceeded $100 million. On the set of this film, Arnold experienced, in his words, the most disgusting moment of his career. In one interview, the actor was asked whether his wife was worried that he would be present during a striptease scene. Arnold replied that his wife indeed asked about it, and he assured her, "Those were the most disgusting filming hours of my entire career." At the world box office, True Lies collected $378 million, becoming the third highest grossing film of the year and the first among adult-rated films. After this success, Arnie decided to raise his fee bar, and for the next two projects asked for $20 million each, becoming the highest paid actor in Hollywood at that time. The next project was Eraser, where director Chuck Russell and Arnold's producer Andrew Vina constantly conflicted. The situation was saved by Schwarzenegger himself. Thanks to good relations with both, he became a mediator between them, negotiating and smoothing out sharp corners. Initially, the ending of the film had a pronounced romantic angle, but during test screenings, the audience didn't like it. As a result, the finale was redone, removing almost all hints of a love line. With a budget of $100 million, the film collected $240 million, which cannot be called a failure, but not a triumph either. After Eraser, Arnie again raised his demands, now up to $25 million. That's how much he received for Batman and Robin, one of the most unsuccessful films of the late 90s, which many critics called the worst comic book movie in history. After Batman, Arnold ended up in the hospital. He underwent heart surgery. The problems are traditionally associated with the use of substances that he took during the times of Mr. Olympia. After the operation, the actor did not film for almost 3 3 years, insurance companies refused to cover risks when working with him. Only 2 years later did one company agree to cooperate. Its employees were on duty on the set of the film End of Days for almost a month, monitoring the actor's condition. When they were convinced that Arnie had fully recovered, the contract was extended, and after that, offers again started pouring in from all major studios. The director's chair of End of Days was occupied by Peter Hyams, whom Cameron recommended because of his experience with night shooting. However, Arnold himself later admitted that he was dissatisfied with the film. In his opinion, it turned out excessively gloomy. By this, he meant not the mood, but literally too dark lighting, because of which many viewers complained about the image. Despite massive advertising, the film did not meet expectations. With a budget of $100 million, it collected $211 million, which was considered a weak result. Many critics then said that it was End of Days that actually buried Schwarzenegger's career. Arnold began to demand that scripts be rewritten for him as a result. Large-scale action films turned into strange dramas. The same happened with The Sixth Day. The actor refused scenes with mass shootouts and violence, explaining this by the fact that he was preparing for a political career. As a result, the film was shortened. Large action scenes were removed. The ending was changed, and it was released in a softened form. For his role in The Sixth Day, Arnie received 3 nominations for the Golden Raspberry for Worst Actor, Worst Supporting Actor, and Worst On-Screen Couple with his own clone. The same thing repeated with his next project, Collateral Damage. Initially, it was supposed to be a dynamic action film in the spirit of Taken, but at Arnie's request, it was rewritten in a more dramatic way. As a result, the film flopped. With a budget of $85 million, it collected only $78. By that time, Schwarzenegger had completely lost his position in Hollywood. If not for Terminator 3 and his political career, he probably would have shown the most spectacular fall down in movie history. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines brought Arnie $30 million, a record fee in history at that time. However, the filming in California, which the actor insisted on, increased the budget to $200 million, because of which the film, although it collected $433 million, was still considered a failure. After that, the rights to the franchise again changed owners, and Arnie himself went into politics. During his governorship, he appeared in films only occasionally and fully returned to the big screen only in 2011. At first, he wanted to make a comeback with the film The Last Stand, but due to delays, the first became The Expendables 2. The producers of The Last Stand are sure that it was Arnie's participation in The Expendables that killed their film. The audience perceived precisely that picture as the actor's return. As a result, with a budget of $45 million, the film collected only $48, although later it sold well on DVD and became a real hit in some countries. In 2014, Schwarzenegger again tried to return to the top with 2 films at once, Sabotage and Escape Plan. Sabotage failed, but Escape Plan turned out more successful. The meeting of Arnie and Sylvester Stallone, which had been awaited since the 90s, finally took place. With a budget of $50 million, the film collected $137 and became the last project for which Schwarzenegger received a fee of more than $5 million. After that, the actor's career went into decline. He acted in Terminator sequels, appeared in strange international projects like The Mystery of the Dragon Seal, mainly for money. Soon Arnie will appear in the film Kung Fury and possibly in the long-awaited Triplets. He himself often recalls Conan and says that he dreams of returning to this role to shake the old days off. Whether this will be needed by the modern viewer is an open question, but one thing is clear for sure. Arnold Schwarzenegger will forever remain a symbol of an era and a man whose films always gave the audience sincere emotions. And how would you rate the career of the great Arnold? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know which of his movies is your favorite. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.